Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
Hour number 2 of the program begins right now. We welcome one Danny Clinkscale here to the festivities. He's brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing, online at eastonroofing.com. Commercial, residential, they handle it and handle it like no one else. At Easton Roofing, integrity matters. Don't trust those knock on the roof guys or knock on the door guys coming in that just rolled into town and are going to grab some guys down at the Walmart and throw them in a truck and say, hey, I will do your roof. Trust Easton Roofing. Kansas City's best when it comes to your roofing needs. Like I said, commercial, residential, they do it all. And a great Kansas City company partnering with Big Brothers Big Sisters. Now a portion of every job Easton Roofing does goes to Big Brothers Big Sisters. That's how Easton Roofing does business. Find them online at eastonroofing.com. Danny, how are you, sir?
Doing just fine, Soren. Lovely day outside, not blistering heat. Great to be here. Always come here with a spring in my step and a bounce in my step. Apparently that's a thing you can do right after going to the chiropractor's place right across the parking lot, so that's always good. So,
I rarely have a spring or a bounce.
I have both, often.
Okay.
This is
Good
true.
for you. I'm proud of you.
So you got that going for you.
Although I don't usually put them in the same sentence, but I have them.
The home-away splits for Bobby Witt Jr. are so pronounced that people have decided that perhaps the Royals are stealing signs at Kauffman Stadium, and this is why Bobby Witt Jr. is having such a marvelous year. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's got a ridiculous batting average on balls in play, which means he's a little bit lucky at home, and the fact that the Kauffman Stadium is like a 105, in other words, 5% higher offensive ballpark than average, which is one of the higher numbers you're going to find in baseball. Do you believe that the Royals are stealing signs? Their overall team numbers are better at home. They're not for Salvador Perez. There's a story on Fansided that had this. I give credit to where I read it.
I mean, this kind of thing's everywhere. Joe Posnanski did a whole blog about Bobby Witt splits yesterday.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact.
It's everybody's big doings because we want to explain why Bobby Witt came from being very good to now being
he's
best player in baseball.
If he was bad on the road, that'd be one thing, but he's not.
He has an almost 800 OPS this year on the road. It's just that he's a freak show at home.
Although almost 800 OPS is just about league average. But
on the road? I mean, maybe that is an average on the road.
No, I mean, it's just about league average, I think, 740, 750, something like that. Anyway, I think that you'd have to go a few years down the road. Royals don't strike me as the type of organization that would try to overtly steal signs in a way that is perceived as illegal. I think everybody tries to. I mean, we hear all the time about pitchers who say, well, I was tipping my pitches. So, I mean, if you're tipping your pitches, then somebody's saying something to somebody else. And no, I don't think the Royals are cheating. I think Bobby Witt Jr. is really good, and Kauffman Stadium has turned into a good hitter's ballpark. It's not as good a hitting ballpark for home runs necessarily, but it's among the best offensive parks in baseball the last couple of years. And
by the way, league average OPS is 711.
Okay, 711. There you go.
So 800's
still pretty 90 points higher.
He said almost
pretty
800. Good. Yeah. No, it's good. He's good. He's fine on the road. I thought his OPS.
Why do you hate Bobby Witt?
I thought his OPS on the road was better than.
He's going to start tweeting at you.
It's well over 1,000.
No. I mean, I thought it was over 800 on the road, even. But
that's what it said.
798 is pretty
798,
close.
And then it's well over 1,000 at home.
And also the last 15 games or so, he's been great on the road. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Just got off to a bad start on the road, and he's generally been a somewhat slow starter. And you know what? He was a slow starter this year too.
Comparatively.
Comparatively, yeah.
Here's I looked up. You mentioned the Baseball Reference has the ballpark factor. If you're over 100 a year, it's an offensive ballpark, but it does measure the home team's numbers and the visiting team's numbers. It isn't just the home team. So I wanted to look and see. Let me break that down a little bit. So this year at Kauffman Stadium, there have been home Royals and opponents 1,052 hits. That's the second most of any ballpark in baseball.
Hence the 105
yes.
park factor.
233 doubles is the most of any ballpark in baseball. 31 triples is second most. 117 homers, 22nd. That stands to reason.
That's because it's the second biggest by acreage you've got to cover as an outfielder. So lots of doubles and triples, more gaps, bigger gaps.
552 RBIs is second most. But here are the Royals, the percentage of those numbers that are the Royals. Hits, 51%. Pretty even. Not really getting them an advantage. Doubles, 52%. Triples, 68%, but it's a small sample size. There's only 31. They have 21 of the 30. Homers, 55%. RBIs, 55%. So there's just some more deeper numbers to show that, yes, the Royals are offense is much better at home, but so is the other team. It isn't just the Royals.
I wonder if we could take an average of all the ballparks they've been in and then take their numbers on the road. What percentage would they be? In other words, if you take, the Royals have 19 triples on the road. Does the opposition have 50?
All right, I see.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
it would take a little while to reverse engineer that.
I don't even know where.
Yeah.
There's probably a place.
I'm not sure how you do that.
Daniel Mack probably has it on his expensive computer. But
the numbers don't really suggest that the Royals have some type of unfair advantage at home. It suggests that a team that's maybe designed for the ballpark they play on. I mean the type of advantage.
A huge part of this is on the backs of two players.
Yes.
Witt and MJ Melendez.
Yeah.
Who's dreadful on the road, and he's okay at home.
Yeah.
You said the Royals organization doesn't strike you as the type that would steal signs. Why?
I don't know why I said that, but maybe because I'm around them and they seem like straight up baseball guys. I've never sort of gotten a bad feeling being around, a creepy feeling being around. These guys seem like a bunch of sneaks.
I almost think it.
I think that though. I generally think in this,
in professional sports, if you found a way to get an edge, you would give off the vibe of creepiness.
No, but I think that given the context of where we are in baseball, where a team has been pilloried for years now and players are still booed, that you probably aren't too inclined to do something overt to gain an advantage. If you have a crafty center fielder or something who is really good at, seeing signs, or somebody in the dugout is especially good at it, sure, you'd want to lean on stuff like that. But I just think that in the general context of baseball, you don't want to do that right now. Because I think they feel like they're probably... It's like if you just walk out on the mound with sticky stuff now. What are you doing? They're looking for it. So, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, but I go back to... First of all, I will forever tell you, I don't get the uproar over the sign stealing.
I don't either, and people are just going to say, well, you're an Astros fan, that's why you say that. No,
I'm not, and I don't see it.
They didn't take it to they had better. It was stupid. They actually performed better on the road that year than they did at home offensively. So I don't know what people psychologically feel. I guess better maybe when they're gaining an edge. I have no idea. But
the Astros did have a creepy guy who gave off bad vibes running in the front office. They've had a number of guys that that villainized him, and then I think this just becomes the poster for it, right? But they're really the reason to villainize the Astros are, the front office. It wasn't the GM, was it? It was an assistant GM who was harassing the reporter about, who had asked the question about their wife beating reliever or whatever. Anyway, they've had some things that are just not good. right?
Right. I can't even remember the why did the guy get banned from baseball? That wasn't just the sign stealing, was it? They had another executive who did something really.
They tapped the Cardinals' computer.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, with their stuff.
Right.
For their like scouting stuff and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So clearly they had somebody in the operation who was willing to go to any lengths.
But it's like the Jim Harbaugh sign stealing thing, right? Like. First of all, when the Patriots got caught for it, Herm Edwards said there are lots of teams that do that. And everyone's known the Patriots have done it for a long time. I pointed out that Eli Drinkwitz never played Michigan at Missouri, yet he held up, and fans would call this show and complain that he had two guys that held up, like, for lack of a better sign, a blank banner in front of their signs that they were giving out on the field so that anybody sitting behind him couldn't see what they were. He was trying to block somebody who was clearly trying to see their signs. That was long before Jim Harbaugh was accused of it.
Right.
Michigan was accused of it, and it wasn't Michigan they were playing. And if you talk to people in college football, they will tell you that lots of people did it. Yet Jim Harbaugh, who's kind of a pain in the ass, does not do any kind of sweetheart interviews, is solely directed. He's not the most likable guy if you don't take time to try to figure him out. And therefore, kind of like the Astros, this hangs around his neck. It's him. Paul Feinbaum, that lazy ass, found a reason that, somebody was getting credit that wasn't in the SEC. So he wanted to blast him. And so he goes on and on about Jim Harbaugh. My point is, do you think Jim Harbaugh was the only guy stealing signs?
No.
No. Okay. And so do you think the Astros were the only ones doing it? No. And do you think everybody's just playing by the rules now, that nobody in baseball is out trying to get an edge? And if everybody's doing that, and baseball's done that their entire history has been what baseball has been, like, why would we think that now no one's doing it?
I don't think no one's doing it, but I think that you're still probably on guard. I think it's soon enough after what went on that you're still on guard, and I think baseball is still on guard. Sometime down the line, umpires are probably going to get a little more lazy about sticky stuff. But right now, for instance, they're diligent about it. So I think that's probably an aspect of it. I think this is a drummed up, stupid idea by people who, don't want Bobby Witt to, say that he's wonderful.
But I do think that this is a team that won 56 games last year.
Right.
Now they hold a wild card spot. Bobby Witt Jr. 2 years ago, when you looked at the players that are similar to him, I mean, even today, at this point, Adalberto Mondesi and Javier Baez came up, right? And now it's like Gary Carter and Troy Tulowitzki, right? Like when you look at the players that are similar on Baseball Reference, so there has been a remarkable now. Were he a 22nd? You don't have 22 rounds now. Were he an 18th round pick in doing this?
Right.
That would lend more to it. He was the number 2 overall pick, which meant he had a lot of talent coming in.
He's got baseball pedigree. He's got the whole thing.
There is suddenly a lot of things. And I think that they're doing things wrong? No, I think last year they weren't near as bad as it looked.
And also the additions they made have been.
But I can understand why people would wonder. Michael Wacha was not like. I think this speaks to the analytics, right? That it's not as hard to build a baseball team as the Royals have made it look for the past 30 years, right? Last 40 years,
right? Well,
it's easier. Like, listen, don't have it. It's almost like defense in the NFL. Don't have one corner that can't cover anybody, and the quarterback won't pick on him, right? Like. Don't have a starter that is an absolute sieve. Just get 5 pretty good guys. And then if you can get one guy that's really good, then you get a lot better. But my point is just this. There are a lot of things that seem to be going right overnight for the Royals. I do understand why people around baseball be like, how did these dunces suddenly figure it all out so fast?
Well, I think that's sour grapes, too. They made good signings. Now the signings have worked out probably as well as you could possibly have done it. Now that Hunter Renfroe is, shaken off a horrible start and turned into a viable offensive player for months now. But the Seth Lugo experiment, as it were, they looked at 1 year of him starting and said, that's good. We like that. We're willing to pay for it. Michael Wacha is a solid veteran pitcher. Boom, we'll do that. Brady Singer maybe is on the verge of figuring some things out. We don't know if that's long term. This might be lightning in a bottle for Brady Singer. The last 2 starts, you're like, ooh.
Well, did you hear what we talked about?
Yeah, I heard it. Yes.
The splits between good teams and bad teams?
Right, yes. So, and Vinny Pasquantino, I think everybody kind of expected that eventually he'd become at least a good offensive